What's going on, everybody? It is the one and only Q from Retro Q Gaming, back in effect as always. It's been a long week, there's a lot to talk about, and yes, so much big stuff going in the way of PC news and PC hardware and, well, PC stuff in general. It's going to be good, it's going to be good, I can't wait. So, I want to thank you and welcome you, of course, to episode 10, our first double-digit episode of our beautiful little Quack experimental podcast. Name will be revealed eventually, don't you worry about that, but let's go straight into what we want to do first. And straight away, we have two kind of strange announcements. Most of them will be positive. One of them is positive for me. One of them is positive for probably other people out there. But we got No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again. Previously a Switch exclusive is now coming to PS4 and Steam. There's no proper release date for it yet. It's technically not the third installment in the series, which would be No More Heroes 3. But the big important thing is that it's being ported to PS4 and Steam, and the creative director of the game, Suda51, he has teased another upcoming announcement for E3, which is like 7 days away or so at this point anyway. So we'll see what that is. Chances are, honestly, it's probably either a remaster of the two old ones, or most likely they're announcing the third game, the third proper entry in the series. Moving on, we have the Star Ocean First Departure. Now that's a PSP remake of the original Star Ocean from the Super Nintendo. Many people think it's from the PS1. No, and actually Star Ocean started on Super Nintendo. But since this is the PSP remake of the original game, it's getting a HD port. Now, it's a great game if you haven't played it, and it's a great remake as well. If you play the original, or if you play the PS1 version, or if you play this remake, it's still a great remake, and it's being ported to PS4 and Switch. Now, there's no date or pricing or availability or extra features or anything that we know of to be included, because they haven't just talked about any of that yet. They've just announced the game and two of the platforms. Chances are it won't come to any other platforms. I'm just going to expect it to be PS4 and Switch. But I'm going to pick it up in PS4. I'm not going to pick up No More Heroes. I kind of liked the first one. I didn't play the second one, but this new one is no interest to me. But Star Ocean I will pick up, despite having the original SNES game and despite having the PSP version. I'll pick this up on PS4 and I'll play it that way. You know, why wouldn't I? It's a good game. I never got around to finishing it completely, that I can recall at least. It's been a long time. But yeah, I'm happy about that. Now we're going to hit the big PC stuff news, because there's a lot to talk about here. And at Computex, AMD finally hit back in one regard, at least anyway, and they did it in a pretty spectacular way, which is probably going to confuse many of you out there, because many of you incorrectly label me as an Intel fanboy. Anyway, let's go. So we do have 2 or 3 big announcements to talk about first, so I'm going to go through all the details of those, and then I'm going to talk about all how I feel about it and what's the deal on that side of it. So straight away we'll open up with AMD's new GPU line. There's not much to go on so far, other than it's all based on their new Navi architecture. We've only seen one kind of card shown off at the moment, which they're calling an RX 5700. Now that's a nod back to most people were expecting it to be, you know, an RX 2080 or 3080 or 30 something or 3000 series or 600 series even, because RX 690, RX 580, RX 590, so maybe an RX 680, 690. But this is all as a throwback to AMD's 50th anniversary as a company, so I can understand that. Now, so far they've only shown off one card based on Navi architecture, which is the RX 5700. They've shown off a little bit of a benchmark, which we'll talk about a little bit further from now, but depending on the benchmark you go for and the metrics and all, currently it's showing, at least according to AMD, 10% faster than Nvidia's RTX 2070. Again, we'll get to that in more detail later. Price and availability. Price is not available just yet. However, it will launch on July 7th, 2019, which is a few days from now. So, anyway, let's move on to what we got next, because they didn't just talk about GPUs in the minor form. They talked specifically a lot about important CPUs. So, we have the proper official announcement based on all the leaks and stuff too. We have the Ryzen 3 series, or the third Ryzen series, based on what we know as the Zen 2 Plus architecture. Now, this is, of course, big deal. It's all 7 nanometer technology. What they have currently in the CPU lineup, we've got a 3700X, which is an 8-core, 16-thread CPU, 3.6 gigahertz base clock with a 4.4 gigahertz boost clock, all on 65 watt power draw. That's exceptional. That is exceptional. That is a winning CPU right there. For most people, that is a winning CPU. Excellent quality. Based on the architecture and everything we know about it, excellent power per core, excellent amount of cores. I realize that throwing more cores at stuff doesn't solve problems, but it's got excellent base clocks, excellent boost clocks. The architecture is fundamentally great for that regard, and it's all done on an extremely well optimized power draw, which has been AMD's huge problem for the last decade. Now, on top of that, we also have a 3800X, which is also 8-core, 16-thread CPU. It's got a 3.9 gigahertz base clock and a 4.5 gigahertz boost clock. Not a massive difference, but it does come with a huge power bump, which is a 105 watt power draw, which is exceptionally strange to me based on what you're getting versus the previous chip. You're getting a 0.3 gigahertz, a 300 megahertz per core base clock boost, and then you're getting only 100 megahertz per core boost clock, all for an extra 40 watts, which is nearly double. That's very strange to me, but it makes sense, kind of. Most people will think it's more of an upgraded version of a 3700X, but to me, with what I'm about to read right now, it seems like a cut down version of the next chip, the 3900X, which is the big dog chip. This is the kind of thing that I would buy. It's that big dog. Now, we have the 3900X, 12-core, 24-thread CPU, 3.8 gigahertz base clock with a 4.6 gigahertz boost clock. Now, here we go. 105 watt power draw as well. You see why I think the other one is a cut down version of this, an underclocked version of this, if you will, and not an overclocked version of the previous. This makes sense why. Now, the big thing about these chips, not only do they look and sound great from everything we see on paper and everything we know about the Ryzen technology, the Zen architecture, as well as just everything about it too. Okay? They're going to launch on July 7th, the same day as the AMD Navi RX 5700. The AMD Ryzen 3700X is going to retail for $329, the 3800X for $399, and the 3900X for $499. Not as cheap as many people were expecting, but this kind of performance at this kind of price is exceptional. Exceptional. To the point where, unless Intel completely shake up and revitalize absolutely everything, which I don't believe they were probably going to do. So you see how this is a big deal. This is so good. Ryzen in general has brought back. I'm kind of bleeding into my next bit here. Let's go. Okay, I'll do it here. Ryzen is fantastic. They're great price, great core counts, and great performance, great speeds, and great clocks. This is exactly what I was just about to say. This is why I have it as a note. And AMD has legitimate contender CPUs for basically every type of desktop now. High-end, gaming enthusiast, mid-range, entry-level stuff. Previously, most of that was dominated, based on the CPU sales and all, something like 86% or 90% or something, was all dominated by Intel. Now, what you get on Ryzen, both in Gen 1, Gen 2, and now upcoming with Gen 3, these are fantastic chips. They are absolutely 100% viable competitors. Many people would just buy Ryzen because now AMD had a somewhat viable chip. They were technically never as good as the Intel variants, but it was always price and performance as a comparison. Intel chips were better, however, they were considerably more expensive. Ryzen chips, the value you got for them and the quality you got from them was great, but now they're legitimate blow for blow, not even blow for blow, pound for pound, because now, as it stands with Intel's current series, the 9900K, the 9920KS, all that stuff, Ryzen 3 fucking destroys them. So it looks like they could be in charge for a while. By a while, in the CPU world, Who knows how long that's going to be. But this is important. This is a big deal. It's a big deal. Now, because AMD are a legitimate competition for Intel and an actual proper threat, now Intel can't just release lazy rehashes year after year after year since they've done since the 2600K. So this is good. This is going to force Intel to get off their arse, put some effort in. Will AMD win? And will AMD be on top for the next few years? Or will Intel fight back and give proper performance, value, quality, etc.? Regardless of what happens, the consumer wins. And that's what's important. We can get quality chips from whichever manufacturer for good money. Relatively good money, at least anyway. Now, back because of all this, like I said, it's significant competition and all too. The AMD market share will now grow exponentially, if you ask me, in my opinion, because they, ever since Ryzen released a few years ago, they were edging it back ever so slightly. With Ryzen 3, I believe, honestly, it's going to explode in that regard. Now, we'll go back to look at the GPU, the Navi-based RX 5700. I have a lot to say about this, and it's not good, okay? So the testing conditions and everything that, I was going to say NVIDIA, everything that AMD showed off for this GPU, its performance and all, etc., is exceptionally questionable. It's shady AF. Now, the main reason for that, they only showed one proper benchmark for it, and that benchmark is called Strange Brigade. Now, that benchmark extremely favors AMD cards. No matter what card you put in, if you put in the equivalent, say, or even maybe one card above from the NVIDIA side of it, the AMD one, however it's designed and all, will always get that much more optimized performance out of it. So, you can see why, when they show off that one specific benchmark, and say, hey look, it's 10% faster than an RTX 2070, and they give you one example in a known favored benchmark, you see why I'm calling alarm bells on this. Show other stuff. Show synthetic ones. Show real ones. No, they show one benchmark and say 10%. Now, I can give you other examples of this too. By comparison, the Radeon 7, which is nowhere near as good as an RTX 2080 Ti, in fact, it loses to a regular RTX 2080 in basically, I said basically because of this benchmark, in basically every way, shape, and form. When you test the Radeon 7 GPU in this benchmark, it beats not only its competition, the RTX 2080, but it beats the vastly superior RTX 2080 Ti. In this one specific benchmark. It's the only way you can get higher numbers from a Radeon 7 compared to either of those two GPUs is use that benchmark. It loses in all other synthetic benchmarks, and it loses in all other real-world scenario benchmarks as well. So you see why it's highly suspect to this. Now, I'm going to be devil's advocate here because someone is already typing how I'm a Team Green fanboy, but whenever NVIDIA put out benchmarks and all as well, I'm always highly suspect of them for the exact same reason. I will say this, as fanboyish as this might sound, NVIDIA does have a little bit more credence to their benchmark results when they post them and stuff for two reasons. One, they will give multiple different benchmarks. They might show 10 different benchmarks and have better performance in all of them. And number two, NVIDIA have a history of having better GPUs at this point. NVIDIA have been consistently massively outclassing the competition, the AMD cards, since the 69 series, like 6990, 6970 and all, 6770, all that stuff, which was, what, 2011, 2012? So NVIDIA have a good track record in that regard, as well as more wide and varied and consistent benchmarks. I'm not saying trust them implicitly. Always wait for better benchmarks and independent and individual benchmarks before making your purchase if you can. But I'm just saying, they're both highly suspect, one more so than the other. Now, what else do we have here? I do hope that the RX 5700 is not the only card. I firmly believe that we will probably, at the PC Gaming Show at E3 2019 in a few days, I firmly believe that Dr. Lisa Su, I believe her name is, the head of AMD, will come out during that and announce a couple new GPUs. She's done that for almost every year at this point. Remember the Fury X and all that stuff? Yeah, that happened during that too. So I do firmly believe that she will announce some new cards during that. But The big problem is if they do launch more GPUs, maybe a 5800 or 5900 or 5600, 5500, I do hope that this 5700 Navi card is not their top end GPU. The main reason for that is because I'm expecting a 5800 and a 5900, because this card, the 5700, it already loses significantly to an RTX 2080. And it already loses even more significantly to an RTX 2080 Ti, the current king of cards and all too. And like I said, it probably even loses overall. We don't have the exact numbers yet, but outside this one specific benchmark, it probably loses overall to even an RTX 2070. The big thing as well that we have to factor in for this is that the price of this GPU, this 5700, is not mentioned. And that can be a big problem because performance and price in the GPU market is all over the place at the moment. And that is a major factor for many people when considering what GPU to buy. Let me give you some examples I took down here. This card needs to be under $350, or in my opinion, it's basically going to be dead on arrival. The main reasons for that is for a fraction of the money more, you can get what will likely be overall better performance from a from an RTX 2070. So for maybe €30 more expensive, or $30 or $50 or whatever, you can get an RTX 2070, which will likely have overall better performance in everything except this benchmark. See what I mean? That's why it's a problem for just a little bit of money. Not only that, but you will get access, if you were to, say, buy the 2070, you can access to a bunch of NVIDIA specific features. Proper hardware G-Sync module support, not just the compatible stuff as well. So it's proper physical G-Sync module support, which is amazing, by the way. You'd also get access to NVIDIA's RTX ray tracing, as well as how many GamesWorks features that... Excuse me, I'm dying. How many GamesWorks features across how many different games? You see my point. Turfworks, Hairworks, Smokeworks, Paperworks, PhysX, the list goes on. And you would lose all of that by buying an RX 5700. So if the RTX 2070 is only a fraction of the cost, I would say in a rough estimate, if the RX 5700 launched at $350, that's a problem. If you can get an RTX 2070 for $400, you get a better card overall and so many more features that you would completely lose out on. Something to think about. However, having said all that, it's good that AMD is updating their GPU line. Hopefully they have a 5800 or 5900, so they do have something better. It remains to be seen. We'll have to wait and see. Now, staying with PC hardware and PC software and all for a while, but we're going to shift over from Team Red to Team Green right now, because we want to talk about something that started as a mod, but has now become a proper full release. Quake 2 RTX. Now, I'm not talking Quake 2 Remastered. No. It is technically a remaster of the game, but it's called Quake 2 RTX. Now, it doesn't use proper ray tracing, despite what the name may imply. I think that's kind of the marketing gimmick. But the entire game is going to use path tracing. It's almost as good as ray tracing, but it's got path tracing for every type of lighting and shadow throughout the entire game of original Quake 2. Now, this game is going to launch in a few days as of now. It's currently the 2nd of June, and this game will launch on June 6th for both Windows and Linux. That's right, it's going to launch for Linux. Of course, it's not going to launch for Mac because, yeah, enough said. Now, the cool thing about this is, obviously, it's just cool in general that they're doing it and they're able to do it. But the cool thing is they're kind of emulating what they did back in the day. Quake 2, back in the day, for those of you who are not as old as me and can't remember all that stuff, the first 3 levels of the game were distributed for free as shareware. So what they're doing is just like the original. You can download Quake 2 RTX Edition. The first 3 levels will be completely free. Download as shareware from NVIDIA's website, just like the original. Which is kind of cool. It's a nice little throwback. And hell, even if you have original Quake 2, this definitely works with the disc-based versions. I assume it would work with something like the Steam-based versions or the GOG-based versions or something as well. You can play the entire full campaign and online multiplayer with path tracing for the entire thing. How cool is that at the same time as well? Now, because it is technically path tracing, it is fairly high-end despite it being Quake 2. So, let's look at the minimum system requirements for Quake 2 RTX. Operating system Windows 7 64-bit or Ubuntu 16.04 LTS 64-bit. Processor Intel Core i3 3220 or AMD equivalent, which is AMD equivalent for that, by the way, is basically a first gen Ryzen. That's how irrelevant AMD were before Ryzen. Where are we? 8 gigabytes of RAM, and here's where you'd expect. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2060 or higher. Now, there's a caveat with that I'll get now in a minute. Storage 2 gigabyte of available space, because, like I said, it just uses original assets and all too. So there's a little bit more in there, but it's mostly original assets. Now, if you read earlier on in the page above the requirements, they also say RTX card or other capable hardware. Like they say, oh, if you have RTX cards or other capable hardware, you can path trace this game, which makes perfect sense. The reason why they say this and the reason why they recommend this is when you look at ray traced games, modern ray traced games, Battlefield, Metro, Tomb Raider, you need RTX cards to get good performance. The cards are designed for it from the ground up. They have it ingrained in and completely baked in. However, since they have access, they've activated that kind of stuff on Pascal series cards, 1070, 1070 Ti, 1080, 1080 Ti. Even though the performance on those is extremely subpar in most aspects and regards, it does technically exist, so it is other capable hardware. However, how well is an RTX 28 or a GTX 1080, GTX 1080 Ti, how well are they going to run Quake 2 RTX? It remains to be seen. Game's not out yet. We haven't seen it on anything that's not specific dedicated RTX hardware. So it likely means high-end 10 series cards like a 1080 or a 1080 Ti with reduced results like you'd see in a regular game. But we have to see how it goes. I don't know. I'm probably going to try it and see how it goes. Don't know if I'll buy the whole thing because, well, Quake 2 is a fantastic game, but I don't know if I'll... We'll see. We'll see. And moving away from ray tracing and hardware and whatnot as well, we have a new announcement from Konami. Originally, we all know they launched their Arcade Anniversary collection, then they launched their Castlevania collection. We all knew that there was an upcoming Contra collection, and the games have been outlined in what's in this Contra collection. However, it's done a little bit differently than the previous ones. Now, you might remember that in the arcade game, the arcade collection, there was 8 games. And in the Castlevania collection, there's also 8 games. They will be patching in Japanese versions of several of those games later, but at launch there was 8 games. For Contra, it's a little bit different, because they have announced a full list of Contra games, and I'll list them all off, and then I'll see why it's a little bit different. So, we've got Contra Arcade, Super Contra Arcade, Super C on the NES, Contra 3D Alien Wars on the SNES, Contra Hard Corps on the Mega Drive, Contra on the NES, Contra on the Famicom, Operation C on the Game Boy, Probotector on the Mega Drive, and Super Probotector Alien Rebels on the SNES. That's 10 games right there. However, it's not as easy as that, because I think they're just fluffing it up a little bit. The main reason for that is there are 3 different versions of the same game. There's Contra on the arcade, there's Contra on the NES, and there's Contra on the Famicom. And not only that, but there's Contra 3D Alien Wars, different game I know, but let's go Contra 3D Alien Wars on the SNES, and Super Probotector Alien Rebels on the SNES. Now, if you're not aware of it, those are the same game, because in Europe, Contra was changed to Probotector and Super Probotector. It's the exact same game, you just have enemies who are replaced by robots. You have main characters replaced by robots. It's the same game though. So you see why this is kind of lazy. And even in the case of Contra 1, it's just Contra Arcade, Contra NES, and Contra Famicom. It's just weird. Now, of course, the Japanese versions of 6 Contra games will be patched in later, including Contra Arcade. Even though Contra Arcade is there, they're just putting in the Japanese version of it. I know they're all just Japanese ones. Super Contra Arcade, which is known as Super Contra Alien. No, I can't even speak Japanese, but yes, Super Contra Arcade. Super C, Contra 3D Alien Wars, Operation C, and Contra Hard Corps. They will all be getting Japanese versions patched in later. Overall, I'll still be buying the collection. I'm sure many of you will as well. Even if I do feel that the game lineup is a little bit lackluster compared to, say, the Castlevania one, which certainly had more variety. And there's no proper known date on this yet, it's just listed for summer, but interestingly enough, a German retailer has listed the 24th of September for this game. Now, it has since been pulled. It could be real, it could be not, we don't know yet. But anyway, it's still technically not summer. However, we're in the start of June, there's still plenty of time for the release in its proper window. Can't wait to pick it up myself. Now this next one I'm going to try get through as quick as possible because I don't want to sit here and tirade on about it. So I'm just going to go with some bullet points. Super Mario Maker 2 coming to Nintendo Switch. No online multiplayer with friends, no personal lobbies, and no private invites. Nintendo's official line on the whole matter is that it would affect rank leaderboards and game balance. So I'm going to give you a quick other little bit of an example before I move on here because, well, we're basically done on this point. When you think of the Nintendo online subscription service, the NES one that gives you those games, you have access to Super Mario Bros. 3 on that system, that service. And of course, because it's on the Switch, you have access to Super Mario Maker 2. It's 2019. One of these games that I just listed has online multiplayer with friends. One of them does not. Guess which one is which? Spoiler. The one with online multiplayer with friends is Super Mario Bros. 3. The other one is Mario Maker 2. Nintendo, what is you doing? But moving on to less depressing information because, well, we move on to a company that knows how to handle things. We have Halo the Master Chief Collection on PC. Now, they showed off a little bit the other night on Mixer during a stream of Halo Reach and how that's looking on PC. We'll get to that now in a minute. But it's promising. It's promising. Originally, the testing was designed or was hoping to have closed flighting in April. Didn't happen. And then in May, didn't happen. So it's most likely, as they say, not going to happen before E3. Now, there is promising stuff because they're going to show off a closed beta showcase of Halo Reach on PC at Microsoft Store events during E3. So that's kind of cool. It's promising as well. Moving on, but staying with the thing as well. Hopefully, I'm hoping at least anyway, that some of the flighting and the beta builds and all will go live publicly or privately or whatever it is right after E3 for anyone who's an insider. I'm signed up. I'm hoping I get accepted for it too. They did show it all on Mixer during the stream the other night. I watched most of it myself. They showed off they were using a demo build. Now, they have two different demo builds. There was the one that they were showing off, and there was the one that they're currently working on, which is progressed further ahead than what they were showing off. The demo build that they were showing off on stream, as well as, which will be the same one that they're showing during the E3 events, has a couple of reduced features because it's an older build. It, for example, a big important thing on PC is FOV, field of view. It has sliders for that in the full game. Their current working prototype, their current model has FOV sliders in place. However, they've showed off some pictures and all. They need to change some art assets at certain FOVs and all because there's like clipping on the arms and guns and stuff too. But the one that they're showing off and the one they showed off on Mixer, as well as the one that they're going to show off at the E3 events, has no FOV slider, but they are working in it and it is happening and they've got that down. Of course, all of this is taking such a long time because there's many reasons and they want to get it right. As much as that kills me, they have to do stuff like get the UI right, the controls right, because mouse and keyboard is very important to get done right or you have a very poorly playing game. Interesting enough, there's going to be 11 engines running at once within the Master Chief Collection, which is insane to think of. And strangely, Unreal Engine is one of them. Now, no, they're not porting it over to Unreal Engine or anything like that. Because of new UI elements and how they're doing the UI and all that stuff, they're implementing Unreal Engine as a layer specifically to only handle the UI. Kind of weird when you think about it, but it kind of makes sense in a regard, because the engine that they have and all the engines that they have, they don't support what they wanted to do with the UI, so it makes sense that they bring in something like this. UE4, for example, is an extremely optimized engine, and that could be done with very, very little overhead, so it makes sense. Some cool stuff that they talked about as well is, naturally, because it's a PC game, uncapped frames per second. They're working on that because a lot of the stuff was originally designed at 30 frames per second. When they put it up to 60 cap, they had to kind of modify stuff too, and go up to whatever we have, 120, 144 hertz, 165 hertz, 240 hertz. Stuff needs to be accounted for, and otherwise, well, it breaks. And they're working on that so it doesn't break when they get it out there. And of course, they want to have proper feel of mouse and keyboard, like I already explained in there too. Some of the effects and the textures and all, even though it was an early beta build, looked fantastic. Even if the guns are still huge, that was always a problem in Halo Reach. The guns took up such a large portion of the screen, even on the 360. But a perfect example is if you go back and watch the stream on Mixer, they have the archives and all on it there, I think. If you go back and you look at the textures and the quality and all on the Ghost, they look great. It looks so good. I can't wait to see what the full product looks like, completely maxed out at high resolution, instead of just watching an early beta build across the stream. So, yeah, I definitely want that. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have any minimum or recommended specs, which is a bit unfortunate right now. Obviously, once the beta tests start, we'll see real world performance, and they can tweak specs and all on then and how stuff works. Even though we have none of them just yet, they did say that on a promising side, that once the game is getting better optimized and all, they want to put more focus on optimizing for high-end hardware to get the best out of it and to get the better quality and all, and the better performance out of it. So that's promising in that regard. Windows 7 will be supported, which we already know yet. But however, they don't have it working yet, even in their beta builds or anything like that. I have a feeling that all the tests and all will probably, or at least the majority of them, will probably only be on Windows 10, because it's easier to start on something like that and then work their way outwards and backwards. But we'll see how it goes. But possibly most importantly, because Halo Reach is coming to this, and it's coming with all the modes. It's coming with multiplayer, it's coming with campaign, it's coming with co-op, and it's coming with firefight. Halo Reach on PC. I assume this will be the same on the Xbox, but Halo Reach Master Chief Collection PC will have dedicated servers for firefight and campaign co-op, something that was no longer something that was not previously the case back on the Xbox 360. If you played multiplayer, sure, it had that. If you played co-op, one person was the host. If you played firefight, it was peer-to-peer and one person was the host. So it could get bad in a bad situation. So this is going to be infinitely better. You get it? Halo Infinite. It's going to be infinitely better in that regard. I can't wait. Can't wait to test it out. Can't wait to get the full game. Can't wait to do all that stuff. As much as I know the delays are killing me, I want them to release a good quality product, and it seems like they're going to do that. Now we're just going to touch on a rumor for this next one, so it will only take a second, but there's rumors flying around of Borderlands 2 getting new DLC. That's right, there was technically 2 seasons of DLC for that game, and then a little bit more, and now there's rumors that we're getting even more of it. Now, kind of makes sense if the rumors are true, because it's designed to, if all this is true anyway, it's designed to bridge the story gap between the end of Borderlands 2 and the start of Borderlands 3, because there is a several year gap in there between the end of the second game and the start of the third game. Now, if this is true, there's going to be 2 DLCs, one called Commander Lilith and the other called The Fight for Sanctuary. We don't know if any of this is true. It's all extremely small leaks and hearsay and whatnot at the moment. But what we do know is that Randy Pitchford, Gearbox, and Borderlands are going to be at E3. Of course, they're probably going to be showing off Borderlands 3 as their big push and their big focus, but it would feel like the proper right time to do it. Although I do think what's going to be funny is that they're going to release, if this is true, they're going to release 2 new DLCs for Borderlands 2 on Steam when Borderlands 3 is only on the Epic Games Store for the first 6 months, and Borderlands 2 isn't even on that platform. Good job, Randy. Good job. Good fucking job. Now, next up is the part that everyone's probably going to go crazy for, because we're going to talk Death Stranding and Kojima. Now, there was a new trailer, nearly 8 minutes long, just released fairly recently, and it contained the official release date for Death Stranding. Now, that release date, of course, is November 8th, 2019, so it will be out in about 6 months. Now, let's talk about what was in the trailer. We're not going to go over the nitty-gritty details and all, but I want to give my kind of impressions about it. I'm not doing a reaction rating, but I've always had mixed feelings on this game. This has kind of cleared a bunch of them up, thankfully, but we'll see how it goes. It looks a lot more than a walking simulator, finally. Previously, everything they'd shown off in all the different trailers beforehand left me with a massively resounding meh between incoherent story, no story at all, or whatever it was, as well as only walking simulator gameplay that made basically no sense. I don't know why everyone was losing their shit at this game. I mean, I know people will blow Kojima for whatever reason, but let's face it, the guy hasn't made a good game in 10 years. Fight me. MGS3 was his last good game. Now, having said that, MGS 1, 2, 3 did have some plot holes in there, but the gameplay and the mechanics were fantastic. Something that cannot be said for MGS 4 or MGS 5. Now, of course, someone's going to bring up PT. PT was kind of solid, but at the same time, it was very Kojima abstract, which is not a good thing despite what everyone will tell you. Not a good thing whatsoever. If your only way to write is being full of plot holes, that makes you a bad writer. But some of the stuff and some of the mechanics in PT were absolutely appalling and absolutely insane in the worst way. But overall, it could have, if the game had came out Silent Hills and it had not been exactly like PT, the potential was there for it to be good. Anyway, back to Death Stranding. So it looks mildly interesting now that there's actual gameplay, proper gameplay, not just walking simulator. And we do have a hint, a snifter of story at the moment. Now, I was previously at a completely resounding, I am not buying this until I see a lot more and something that actually grabs me and interests me. This has kind of pushed it up ever so slightly to, okay, at least now I'll buy it to see if it's good, to see the story, whatever it is. So I'll probably still buy it unless they show another trailer that looks absolutely awful. Now, like I mentioned, there's all the Kojima stuff too about, yeah. So I'm still skeptical because, like I said, he hasn't made a good game that I enjoyed in any way, shape, or form. In fact, every game he's made since Metal Gear Solid 3, after MGS3, I have looked at and just wondered, how can anyone think these games are good? It literally does not compute how anyone can find this good in any way, shape, and form. So, naturally, I'm very, very skeptical about Kojima. He's had a couple of flops, in my opinion. Couple of disgraces since his last hit. So, we'll see. Hopefully, maybe he brings it back. I don't know. Now, I do also want to mention one other part as well that's going to have Sony fanboys banging out in the keyboard in the comment section below, as always. Because this game, it's still unclear if Death Stranding is coming to PC. Now, someone's already banging out, no, it's a PS4 exclusive, you fucking fanboy, PC Master Race cunt, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fair enough, you can say whatever you want, but let me present you with some evidence, okay? Back when Death Stranding was first announced, but let's call it first pre-announced, if you will, because Death Stranding was announced before it was Death Stranding. When Kojima founded Kojima Productions, he announced that the first game he already had started production on was coming to PS4 and PC. This is directly out of Kojima's words, you can take them and just enjoy that. Now, of course, that's still no longer a confirmation on PC as still a platform because things change. Now, so like I said, PS4 and PC when it was first mentioned and not even listed as Death Stranding. After the game was announced as Death Stranding, and after the game at the same time was kind of showcased by Sony to talk about it coming to PS4, there was an official post on the PlayStation blog answering some frequently asked questions. One of which said this. It was, oh, where did I go? I vanished. My notes were terrible in that regard. But the I don't have it verbatim here, but the Cliff Note version on the PlayStation, the official PlayStation blog post, said it was coming first to PS4 and it will be coming to PC at a later date that we are not willing to disclose at the moment. So, that was on the official PlayStation blog. You can find archived versions of that post still out there. I saw it when it was live, like 2 years ago or whenever it was, but that was all swiftly and promptly deleted. But of course, the internet never forgets, and there are pictures, screenshots, and archived versions of it all the way out there. And interestingly enough, all the marketing materials for this game, the splash screens they're showing off, even the box art and the mock-ups of the box, and all that stuff, the pre-order pages on various different websites, as well as on the PSN within itself, none of them say only on PlayStation or PlayStation exclusive. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, they'll say that eventually, this, that, and the other, they'll change it. The same materials in the same time frame for Spider-Man and God of War had those only on PlayStation and PlayStation exclusive wording on their marketing materials. Let's just say, for example, Death Stranding is shown off and announced 6 months before its launch. They put up all this artwork, all this promotion material. None of it says exclusive or only on PlayStation. Let's just say the same thing happened for God of War and Spider-Man. It was announced and shown off properly and all 6 months before its launch. Straight away, the marketing materials and all went up, just like they did with Death Stranding. And the same types of marketing materials, the PSN page, the same ones they use to show off the collector's editions and special editions and just what's in it and all as well. All of those ones for God of War and Spider-Man said only on PlayStation or PlayStation exclusive or exclusively on PlayStation. So you can see why it's a little bit questionable. Now, what do I think? Will it come to PC? I personally think this is a timed exclusivity deal. Of course, that could have changed when Sony stepped in. They could have bought exclusivity rights after Kojima first mentioned that they were developing a game for PS4 and PC. I do think this will come to PC down the line. I'm still going to get it on PS4 first, just because, you know, I can play it first that way as well. I hate when stuff like that happens, especially because the PC version will obviously be superior with a better frame rate, a better higher native resolution, and probably, hopefully at least anyway, better quality settings, effects, yada yada yada. We'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm still buying it on PS4 unless we get a PC date that says, unless before launch they say, yeah, it'll be out a month later on PC, in which case I'll buy it then. But we have to see how it goes. The game could go either way. Many people will consider it a 6910 masterpiece, despite just because it's Kojima, but we're going to have to wait and see. Now, next up, Microsoft has confirmed a rumor that had kind of leaked a little while back, and they've done that by announcing Microsoft Xbox Game Pass is coming to PC. Now, they're going to have over 100 games at launch, just like they did with Xbox when it came to that, and they've got big third-party publishers as well as smaller ones on there too, from the likes of Sega, Paradox, Bethesda, Deep Silver, and Devolver. So it's going to be promising. And of course, just like on the Xbox, new first-party games will be available day and date, day one as well. So basically, when, let's say, Gears of War 5 launches and you have Xbox Game Pass on PC, you will get that on launch day, and you'll be able to do it that way too, which is promising for people who want to try big games. Now, what's also going to happen is if you sub to Xbox Game Pass and you decide you want to opt in and buy one of these full games that are on Game Pass to own forever, you will have a 20% discount if you buy the included game. And of course, you'll only get a 10% discount off DLC if you buy any of that stuff. So, I don't know, let's say Master Chief Collection, for example. Let's say you buy that and you want to get the Halo Reach campaign option too. Let's count that as DLC. You get 20% off Master Chief Collection, you get 10% off the Halo Reach thing. So you see how that would work anyway as well. We don't have a price or a date on it yet, but they will have more info at E3. Now, I'm not a huge fan of these systems, so I don't really want to praise this too much. I guess if you're into it, congratulations, it's coming to PC, but I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. But sticking with Microsoft and E3 and what else they're going to do, is Microsoft have announced that they have 14 first-party games to show off at E3 this year in 2019. Now, here's some big questions. How many of these games are new? How many of these games are big budget games? How many of them are big title games? How many of them are big IPs? How many of them are small indie games? Look how stuff like Ori and the Blind Forest kind of took off and all as well. Are they having something like that? Something of that tier? Cuphead turned out to be a great game, of course, but at the same time, it's not a big AAA game. Could they have another indie studio working at something similar to Cuphead? Could they be talking about the DLC? We don't know. And the big question is, how far off are these games? I mean, what's the point in telling us if we have 14 first-party games to show off? Yeah, if 2 of them are out this year and then the rest of them are out 5 years from now, I don't know. It's a bit much. It's a bit much because I mean, they said I said this last year with the new studio acquisitions and their purchases of new studios that they showed off at E3. If you buy 5 new studios and then suddenly put them to start working on games, they're not going to have a proper game, a proper quality product for probably at least 3 years. You don't want to rush anything out. Microsoft fucked up big time this year, this generation. So they don't want to rush anything to get out some crap. So that's the problem. These new studios might have a game in a few years. You might be talking like 2022, 2023 before you see some of these games. I hope anyway, at least if they give them enough time to adequately develop them and make them proper. This brings up our next point. With all of these games, these 14 new games, as well as what we know, what we see, all this stuff as well. This will tie into something I'm going to mention now in a second. Our next proper talking point, okay? So if all of these games are coming to PC, as well as the new Xbox, which will probably be out in 2020, the Xbox Scarlet, we'll call it for now. If they all come out next year, or the Xbox Scarlet comes out in 2020, all these games come out on PC, and possibly even Xbox One at the same time in dumbed down versions. You have no reason to buy an Xbox Scarlet. At launch, it's just going to be a bunch of third-party multi-platform games. And you're going to have first-party multi-platform games that will run and look superior on a rival platform. I guess you could call it, we'll call it a rival platform. It's PC. I mean, Gears of War 5. Let's say Gears of War 6. Let's say that launches next year. That's going to run and look better on PC. New Forza. That's going to run and look better on PC. Halo Infinite. That's going to run and look better on PC. The big problem I have with this is, technically, you have no reason to buy an Xbox Scarlet. Because you can get these games elsewhere. Now you can say, oh, but some people want to play on console or whatever. That's not the point. These games can be bought elsewhere, which is the point. So, you can see. I mean, think about it. You know me, right? I'm a bit eccentric and I'm a bit of a lunatic in that regard. So I'll be buying the Scarlet regardless. Even if it only has games I'll play on PC, because I'm a fucking idiot. Q, why did you say this out loud? You sound even worse. Anyway, I'm going to stop digging a hole for myself, but I'll buy that regardless. I'll want something to play on, even if the games will run and look better on PC. I'll justify it in my head. It's an investment for later, blah, blah, blah. Maybe an exclusive game, blah, blah, blah. What am I doing with my life? Anyway. If it's more powerful than a PS5, there's rumors out there that it might be more powerful than a PS5. We don't know yet. But if it is more powerful than a PS5, that might help in some regards, because the games will look better, run better, and or whatever. The competition in the form of the PlayStation, we all know that resolution gate was a big issue back at the start of this generation, when the PS4 basically trounced the Xbox One in every aspect, in every game, if it was either one aspect, the other, or both, because of frame rate, resolution, or the two of them. So that was something Sony had going for them for the longest time. Microsoft could potentially have better. I mean, let's look at it this way. If you have a choice to buy a console, and the games are the same, but they look better and run better on one platform for the same money and all, you're going to buy it on there. Makes sense, doesn't it? So we'll see how it goes anyway. But the problem is that no exclusives, no proper true exclusives, and lesser third-party support, if they get lesser third-party support, like they did during the Xbox One era, because like look at Persona and all that stuff just came to PlayStation. So many other games just came to PlayStation, or PlayStation and PC, or PlayStation and Switch and PC, or something like that. But if that happens again, it's probably going to kill the new Xbox Scarlet. It's probably going to kill it, and that has much bigger ramifications that I've talked about before. We'll see how it goes. E3 is a few days away. Let's find out. And that other point I mentioned a minute ago as well, I want to talk about. Now, when I said about buying Xbox games or Xbox games being available on PC, Usually you would think, okay, you know, people don't want to use the Windows 10 store, but they'll have to blah, 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 if that's the only place they can get it. But we all know that Halo Wars Definitive Edition has come to Steam. Halo Wars, or Halo the Master Chief Collection, is coming to Steam. So that's some big important things to note. And Xbox games have already been announced going forward with a new policy change that these games will be coming to PC. So all future games will come to Steam day one, as well as the Windows 10 store. That's pretty fucking huge news for PC gamers. That's amazing. Because starting with Age of Empires 1, 2, and 3 Definitive Editions, and Gears of War 5, Halo and Gears of War 5, Steam. That's fucking huge. That's big stuff. That's big stuff. Now, most people are going to say, oh, but Q, you're just a Steam fanboy, blah, blah, blah. I will get to that in a moment. We have bits to talk about. Shoddy, relax, okay? Anyway, because the games will be coming to Steam on day one date, as usual, you know, the good stuff. Starting, oh no, wait, I already read that. Games will be Windows or Win32 executable based games instead of the piece of shit UWP based games that use the Windows 10 store. That's fantastic, because UWP is so restrictive on a lot of shit. Now, let's see. That's my little dig at, you know, why I'm not a Steam fanboy just for the sake of it. There are legitimate reasons to not like the Windows 10 store, many of which I'll get over now in a second. So, here's what's going to be cool, okay? Other Win32 executable games will also be allowed to come to the Windows 10 store. Now, what this means, okay, you have to differentiate what we're talking about here. If you buy Gears of War 5 on Windows 10 store, it will be a UWP game. Even though there will be a Win32 version available on Steam on the same day, just because one exists on the other does not mean it will automatically be that, if that makes sense. Just because there is a Win32 version of Gears 5 day one on Steam doesn't mean that the Windows 10 store version is going to be Win32. It's going to be UWP. So you see the point here. You have to differentiate that. But the way they're doing this is that other companies and other developers will be able to put Win32 developed games onto the Windows 10 store. See, does that make sense? Maybe someone would port a game, and instead of just having it on Steam, now because it's Win32 allowed, they can put it on UWP, or they can put it on the Windows 10 store without changing. Now, that's promising as well, okay? Now, here I actually have it wrote here as before anyone bitches and moans about Steam versus Epic Store versus Windows 10 Store, and Q, you're such a fanboy of Steam. Like I said, I talked about all the stuff, I talked about some of the stuff before in this video, about how UWP is generally shit. UWP on the Windows 10 store was absolutely awful. I'm sure any of you out there have used it. Anyone who's played Halo Wars 2, Sea of Thieves, original version of Quantum Break. There's another one I'm forgetting. Crackdown 3, Gears of War. I think I said Gears of War. State of Decay. You know that UWP is absolute shite. It's absolute shite. There's a big reason for this. UWP has terrible limitations because of how they designed it. There's no mod support, there's no SLI support for multi-GPU, it only supports DirectX 11.1 and DirectX 12, which means it was restrictive in what games could have been on there. You see why it's overall a bad idea. Feels bad, man. Now, having said that, with all these games coming to Steam, there's one other question we have to ask ourselves. These games will usually be Xbox Live Play Anywhere. Not all of them, but usually. Which means if you buy a digital version of a game on Xbox One, if it's a Play Anywhere title, you will get the PC version on the Windows 10 store for free with that purchase. Let me give you a good example. I bought Gears of War 4 as well as Halo Wars 2 digitally on my Xbox One. I bought them through the console itself. Because they are Xbox Live Play Anywhere games, I got free digital PC copies at the same time. I obviously play them on PC and do not play them on console. It was just easier at the time for me to buy it through there. The Windows 10 store is absolutely shite as well, so you see my point. So here's the problem. Or is it even a problem, okay? If you buy... It's more of a question rather than a problem. Let's say Gears of War 5. Will that be a Play Anywhere title? We already reckon that Halo Infinite will not be. But let's say Gears of War 5 is a Play Anywhere title. If I buy a copy of that on my Xbox, do I get a Windows 10 store version? Or do I get a Steam version? I'm going to say 99% sure I will get a Windows 10 store version because it's the same account, but at the same time you could possibly log in. You know, look at Halo Master Chief Collection, Xbox Live account required. We have to see how it goes. It's going to leave some questions. It's going to leave some questions that we can't answer just yet. But the most important thing is I'm happy with it coming to Steam because let's look at it this way. If I buy Gears of War 5 on Steam, which I probably will I get a free Xbox copy? Should that influence my purchase? Should I worry about buying it on the Windows 10 store so I can get an Xbox copy for whatever reason? I don't know. There's questions. It's that easy. Now, we're pretty much at the end of it here, so what we will do is we'll round it out with our last little bit. There's not much to say in this little ending sequence. So, Q, what are you doing? What are you playing? Well, first off and most importantly, I'm still messing around with my camera. Well, kind of. You'll see why soon. And I'm still working on that other video. It's coming. It's been delay after delay after delay. I've made some significant progress on it, which I don't know how it's going to go. We'll see. Not going to tell you what it is just yet, but that one is happening and we are making progress with it, which is promising. Gameplay wise and other stuff wise that I've been doing, there's not really much because there's no real big new games that I'm interested out at the moment. I want to kind of trim it down to only maybe play 1 or 2 games at a time so I can kind of focus on them. We all know I finished Yakuza 0 fairly recently, and I want to wait before moving on to Yakuza Kiwami because I'm currently playing Final Fantasy 4 still. So that's a big JRPG. I want to get that done, that out of the way before spending a lot of time on 2 big games. So I'm still playing Final Fantasy 4. That's one of my big ones. Playing Borderlands 2. We did it. We did it, boys. We did it. We did it. There's memes. There's all sorts of memes. We hit level 72 last night in Borderlands 2 co-op. Moving on to some of the DLC. We did one of them. We finished one of them last night, which hit level 72 for me. Everyone else had just hit it a few minutes before me. We'd already done one of our new DLCs, and now since we are max level, we can move on to other 2 DLCs, specifically as well the Tiny Tina DLC, Assault on Dragon Keep, one of the finest DLCs of any game I have ever played. And of course, it is the best DLC of Borderlands 2. So it's going to be great. I'm going to get some mad loot, I hope, because, you know, I got like 165 keys left. Make it rain, son. But other than that, it's going to be great. There's not too much other than that. I'm going to rewatch Captain Marvel and see how my feelings have changed on it, if they have. For those of you who don't know, I don't remember if I've said it before, when I saw Captain Marvel, it was perfectly average and adequate for a Marvel film. It wasn't terrible, it wasn't great, there were a couple of parts that were really good, there were a couple of parts that were less than good. It was just kind of average for a Marvel film. I don't get the big deal. So we'll see how it goes anyway. But that's it. That's it for the moment. We have nothing else upcoming, nothing else going on, and that's it for the end of our lovely little episode 10 of our Quack Experimental Podcast. As always, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, watching, listening, whatever it is. So feel free to let me know in the description below or to slide into a Twitter DM, whatever it is. If you see anything cool that you think I might be interested in, I'll take a look. Can't promise I'll talk about it, but I'll take a look regardless. Other than that, let me know how I did. Feel free to hit the appropriate button to let me know all that good stuff. If it's a thumbs up, if it's a thumbs down, if it's a thumbs up your arse, whatever it is. Whatever you're into, you know, whatever. But feel free to hit the subscribe button, maybe even a little notification bell so you can get those live stream notifications. And maybe even when one of these gets uploaded every Sunday, you'll be one of the first to watch it and one of the first to leave that dislike. But it is what it is. Anyway, that's it. We're out. But before we do, I'm going to take a second to remind everyone, as always, that winners don't play switch ports.